problem is I've tried to plug it and unplug it and get out of Zoom and get back in, so I apologize. Is that going to affect my share screen, Sharon? Does anybody know? Probably, huh?
Do you want to give it a test? Because I was going to say it should still share, yeah. Is everybody able to?
Can you see a PowerPoint?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yay.
Great. Well, I can stop my sharing while we do other business. And Suzanne, tell us how you are and then take it away.
I'm doing good. Yeah. Just about 7 or 8 weeks left. So.
Oh my goodness.
You know, it's kind of crazy. All right. Well, welcome everybody. We have our meeting minutes from last week. With a motion to approve the minutes from last week or last month. Last meeting, I guess.
I'd motion to approve.
Okay, I will second that motion if I can. All right. Well, let's see here. I'm elected chair today. Or no, wait, hold on. I'm looking at the old ones. Sorry. Okay, here we go. All right, areas of focus.
I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
And we are going to talk a little bit about library goals as they relate to the City Council's areas of focus for this year. So let me know if you guys can't hear me very well or if you can't see anything. First, I'm just going to go through. So these were the 5 areas of the City Council's focus that they designated as their priorities this year. They worked on it through a retreat process. So safe and livable neighborhoods, thriving and balanced business environment, dependable infrastructure, community-focused and effective government, and skilled and talented workforce. They felt like those 5 areas would be the best place for the city to spend our time and energy and resources on this year to make to keep the community going in a positive vibe. So all of the departments have been asked to build goals around these areas of focus. So the library has 5. They don't correlate directly with all the areas of focus. Most of ours are under community focused and effective government, but I'm just going to quickly talk about a few things that we've been working on as far as our goals for this year. So the first one, that's really big text, but it was really small otherwise. So we have been looking at our front entrance with our increase in holds. We turned on holds on available items, and with the desk staff collecting return items on a cart for quarantine and lots of other reasons, that area is certainly very busy. And we've been looking at the traffic patterns as patrons come in, where they step to, how they navigate the space. So we worked with a space planning architect, just a few sessions to kind of look at our prime areas of where we need to go. And we're just in the process of that. I will tell you that it's likely that we will keep the holds front and center of that area, but move it further in because it needs a little more space. And our hold shells, if we continue to use them, we would need to kind of rebuild them and fortify them because they are 26 years old now and they've had a lot of wear and tear, and some of them are feeling it. So with programming being moved to Library Hall, we can potentially gain a few feet if we move the children's shelving towards the fireplace a bit. So we're looking at holds, specifically our special book sale and our new release items and how those all kind of could fit in that same space. One of the kind of issues that the architect talked to us about is this is our welcome. This is our chance to make a pop when people come through our doors. And we feel like we've got too much going on in a small space. We need to kind of visually and I guess navigationally clean that up a bit. So we are looking at our options for that. We do have some money set aside. We have about $12,500 to make some customer service improvements at the circulation desk. And what we would like to do primarily is kind of clean that area up visually behind the circulation desk, update the look and feel of it, utilize maybe some storage if we can build that in, so there's some out-of-sight storage for things. We may replace the countertop of the children's desk to kind of make it look a little bit more modern and clean, but I don't know that it's going to serve us to rebuild the desk at this time, so I don't know that we'll go through a whole desk rebuild, but a countertop could help. Making that back area more like clean and have a little bit more of a graphics pop could really help us. We love the little bookworm statue for kind of the iconic look that it gives us, but it might need to be relocated somewhere on the floor. It's a very congested little spot, and while kids love to love on that little statue while their parents are checking out, it gets a little dangerous. We have kids sitting and standing on the book, you know, launching each other off of it. So we're looking at that. We are also in the process, we've been accumulating money for the past several years to work on our RFID. That's the barcode kind of sensory checkout system. And we have been deploying some of that technology this year. We upgraded the gates in both areas. And we are in the process, we have 3 more standalone self-check units coming and then a replacement countertop unit coming for media. The media unit's been down for several months now, and the architect really felt like it would be worth our money to have patrons know that this is what a checkout looks like wherever I see it throughout the building. So we have been definitely people who've not wanted to give up on something that was still functional, but we think for the return, it is time to standardize those self-check units. And we have the money to do it, so they're all gonna look like the new one. There is one new one over at Circulation now. There's another new one in the adult main floor, and so we're going through that. But we really want to keep the library as a very welcoming place. We want it to be user-friendly for our patrons. And we think that making some changes in that front area, at least starting on some changes, can help make a little bit more impact there. Turning on holds for available items was a really good move for us, especially in COVID, but it's popular and we'll continue to do that, you know, into the foreseeable future. We had to be closed yesterday because they were replacing the library's front doors, and they're also doing some construction on what would normally be the south entrance of the library in the breezeway area. So because it wasn't safe to have people walking under the overhead work in the front door area, we did have to close, but staff worked really hard to pull holds for people, run them out to the curb for people, and we also did a curbside print. We helped people get their prints. And I just felt like it was so successful because people were really gracious about the closure. And those are the 2 main areas that we see people needing to do their business when they come to the library. They really need to print. They really want to pick up their hold items. So both of those were a good little test spot for us to do yesterday. Another goal is bringing back our programming. We have already started to do that with the hall, but as COVID restrictions are lessening, we are excited to offer kind of a full slate of family activities for summer reading. I will tell you that some of the items they are going to be doing outside. We've always had that outside component as part of summer reading. Because of the construction right here, we will probably be doing The first part of it may be at the stage at City Center Park. And while we don't love having people removed from our library campus, they may offer some there and some in Library Hall, just kind of a mix of offerings to cover what the community is looking for. They're doing great with Library Hall. They've hosted the Bonner family, which was a great program that offered kind of a Black history and the evolution of Black history with music. We had the Delbert Anderson Trio, which was a Westaff grant performer, which is a grant that we received for bringing an act in from outside of Utah. That was a jazz trio that came from New Mexico with Navajo band members that was really awesome, and they went to Orem Junior High, and the kids just really loved it. We've had Cantorum Choir, which they brought in a film crew to broadcast that really just made us start thinking, oh my goodness, if we're going to broadcast performances in the future, this is kind of where we need to go with that, because our broadcasting hasn't been as strong as we have wanted it to. So they've done a lot of programming, a lot of the teen stuff, a lot of the tween stuff. They had an artist come in about painting the canyon landscape. One of the members of the Bonner family did a vocal chorale. They hosted the Utah Film Festival. They're just doing quite a bit of things out there so far, and we'll continue to ramp that up with summer reading. For this one, we felt like it could be community-focused and effective government, and we really believe that the library has a place on the city center block. We want it to contribute to safe and livable neighborhoods. We fully support efforts to make this community more navigatable by walking, by bus, anything that helps people come to the library, because I think that wherever you live in Orem, the library can be part of your neighborhood if you can get to us. So we wanted to include our desire to be part of that as well. Our ILS system has been our 7th year with this current contract. Will be up next fall. And to do an evaluation of that, it takes almost a full year of time because it's a multi-year contract, and Tech Services wants to look at options. But so we will be conducting a full search of that, full request for proposal process for that. And we want our ILS to continue to be strong, to help people navigate our cataloging, or navigate our system, as well as all the improvements that we can make through our professional cataloging and other kind of searchable tools that can help point people in the direction of what they would like to find. So we feel like infrastructure is anything that kind of supports the use of the city. It's not just roads and sidewalks, it's also programs and other things like that. So we put that goal down for our dependable infrastructure. Skilled and talented workforce. This is an important one. Luckily, we do still see good candidates come in for all of our jobs. Some of the departments of the city have a much harder time recruiting, which is challenging. I will tell you that in the last 2 weeks, I have participated in recruitment processes for a new children's associate librarian, Shauna Mundinger, who is our current associate, is going to be a school media specialist in a school by her home, I think in Mapleton. So she's going to be leaving us, and she's leaving us very soon. So it's horrible timing for summer reading, but we have recently extended an offer to an individual named Whitney Bitton. She's currently working at Springville Public Library. She's completed her Master's of Library Science degree. She works in the children and youth area in Springville, and we're excited to have her come on board. She's going to be a really great asset to that area, and we're starting her on Monday, so she'll have a couple of weeks of training with Shauna, especially on some of the nuts and bolts of the supervisory position. So that is one that was definitely a key position for us, and it's a challenge to make that change during this time of summer reading, but we're hoping that Whitney's really great skill on the desk and desire to learn and grow as a supervisor, it'll all be just fine in that area. We've also been recruiting for cataloging librarian. Evelyn Boyd is our cataloging librarian, and she is retiring in July. So we are doing an active recruit for that right now. It is not the easiest position to fill. There just aren't that many professional cataloging librarians in the local library world. It's a skill and an art to do cataloging. So we're looking for someone who can lead that team. And we have some good candidates. We're just at the process now of going into like the second round of interviews and seeing where we end up. But we have an incredibly strong tech services division manager in Anthony Morris. He's going to do a great job leading that team into the future. So we're excited about that. Another part, and this was a really key part that kind of came up as we talked to all of the librarians about what they thought our goals should be. And one of the challenges that we face at the library is as you're out in the community, in your own neighborhood, or interacting with people, you will often hear people say things like, oh, we had no idea the library did that, or we had no idea that that was available at the library. And so that is kind of the statement that we would like to try and address as much as we can. So we are working to develop a strategic campaign to introduce library services to residents who aren't current patrons. We want to target key areas of customer service such as early literacy, student success, digital inclusion, creating and making resources, and cultural and educational events and social gatherings. So we're going to work with the city's communication team to look at some surveys and some focus groups. We are going to work amongst ourselves to kind of identify which areas we think we can, I guess, have the most impact. There's been some talk of putting a real push on getting every kindergarten family a library card. We're looking at ways to remove barriers to getting library cards. Fees or fines are always a discussion. We are not there yet with our current climate and leadership, but we are looking at all of those kind of opportunities. And then just really good promotion. And I think our creative team does a good job with their promotion. We just need to have a wider net. And I think that the variety of our programming needs to be celebrated, and we can certainly do some outreach at local schools, at local organizations, at local churches and civic groups and social clubs. All those kind of things could benefit from our message. So then that one was just a community focused and effective government goal. So those are the 5 goals that we set for this year. We wanted to share them with you. I know that's a lot of information just all at once, so we can totally send those out. And as you look at them, if you think that we are overlooking something or if you want to add something to it, for sure, we're happy to take that feedback. We're also happy to add goals if there are things that you would think we should add as completely separate goals.
Charlene, I think this sounds absolutely wonderful, and it sounds like a very, very ambitious undertaking. So I don't know, are you trying to do all of this at once, or are you going to prioritize some of these things?
We'll definitely do as much as we can all at once. We think that most of these goals are multi-phased opportunities to improve. So we're kind of meeting in our librarians meeting and other areas to spec out where we are and how we move forward. So that has been helpful. We've had some website trouble that we need to devote some resources to quite quickly because we're frustrated with the way the website is looking and some other things like that. But we're kind of just penciling out a timeline and working on them as we can. Like the front area improvements, that will definitely have to be multi-phased in terms of budget. We want to, spend a little bit of the money that we have now, and some of the changes we can make with little or no cost, but then we need to look at other changes. There's a potential, like, for example, if we change the hold area to another spot, we could really impact for the better the back of house of Cirque. They're so tightly kind of constrained in there, and they do so much work in there that it would be a great thing if they could recapture that hold area space the way we have it now. If they could recapture that in the back, that doesn't sound like a lot of space, but it would really help them. But we don't necessarily have the money to move walls right now, but we can go forward with kind of a budget plan and different things like that over time. So we can divide almost all of these goals into multi-phases and try and work through them. The last goal is the most daunting because we know that we have great things to offer people who aren't current patrons. It's just about how we capture their attention and their interest and their time to come to our facility or to enjoy some of our services that you can access from your home. So those kind of things are going to be the most challenging, but everyone had an experience with. I didn't even realize the library still did those kind of things. I didn't know libraries did that, and so we just want to get our story out in front of people a little bit more.
Okay, any other questions or comments about those goals from anybody? Okay, I know you've already talked a bit about this, but staffing changes, were there others you wanted to go over?
We are in the process of shuffling a fair bit of techs of our flex staff, but that is just fairly routine for us as the semesters end, as people, leave school or move on to their next opportunity. So we're not in dire straits, but we are shoring up a few of those areas, like the children's staffing. We just hired a few more people for circulation because we expect summer reading to be robust. We just hired another young man to help us do sound at Library Hall because we're all drinking from the fire hose that is Library Hall. We love it for its potential, but we got to kind of wrestle it to the ground a little bit before we have a lot of comfort with it. So Outreach has been doing an outstanding job of learning the facility. Unfortunately, we still have some punch list items, but we're trying to just flesh out what staffing is available to devote to all of these different items. So nothing too significant in the staffing changes, but the associate librarian and the cataloging librarian are definitely game-changing positions for us.
Okay, other updates?
Summer reading is a fairy tale based program this year, so everyone's excited for that. They are kind of building on some of the feedback from the last couple of years where they tried to make it more of an online experience, a little bit of reward, and look at ways to gamify it a little bit. So they're doing a really good job with that. We are opening more and more services. We've restored some of our study space. More furniture comes back next week. We have signs all over the building saying masks are strongly recommended. But at this point, with the governor lessening the mask mandate and other particular mandates, we aren't asking anyone to wear a mask anymore. We just suggest it. We have never had the approach of asking anyone to leave if they wouldn't wear a mask, because we just didn't want to have anything that seemed like an unpleasant customer service situation or, heaven forbid, an altercation. And I would say, after talking to the librarians today, it's about 60-40 on masks. So about 60% of people are still wearing masks, We do expect that to lessen over time. I think the most stressful place where it is going to lessen is going to be in that library hall environment, but they're going to try and manage an appropriate audience level to let people spread out a bit. But yeah, that's been a challenge, but the staff is doing great with it. A lot of our staff has taken the opportunity to be vaccinated, so there is less anxiety out there than there has been, previously, and we're grateful for that because we want our staff to feel comfortable. We do still have like the plexiglass in place for now, but that's another thing that's kind of changing for us. Overall, I think for the most part, the community has been pretty civil. If we looked back through the whole year plus experience, our negative experiences have been few and far between compared to what other people have experienced. So we're really grateful for that. They've been working on our art collection. The outreach staff got a grant to digitize the art, which was quite an extensive project because they had to take it down, take it out of the frame, have it photographed, and they are working to upload that to hopefully share the city's art collection more directly. We are just finishing the expenditure of our Community Library Enhancement Fund grant. That's a grant we get every year from the State Library. This year we opted to spend it on a good chunk of it, about a fourth of it, going into bolstering our Spanish language collection. So materials that needed to be updated, looking at a lot of items that are popular in other libraries because that does tend to help get items in the hands of people if they're looking for popular items. So we spent about a fourth of it on that. It's about a $21,000 grant. We spent about half of it on some equipment for our makerspace. We're anxious to reopen that. They will try to control numbers down there so it isn't overly packed, but they've bought some new Mac computers and some other things to enhance that area, and technology that is used by the public is a major area of the CLEF grant. And then the rest of it is going to our online digital collection for e audiobooks. We got some really good news from the State Library today. They've been talking about the ARPA funds, which I'd have to look up what ARPA means, but the state has received some COVID-related improvement money for libraries, and a lot of the libraries cited that they needed help with operational expenses, especially during COVID. And one way that the state found that it could help, they couldn't pay for operational expenses, but they could take part of the library's ongoing bills to participate in the Overdrive, the Libby, the digital library. We all pay into that system, and they could pay the share that we are charged as libraries, and then that would free up that money to go into other operational items. So that's really exciting for us. It's like the opportunity to potentially spend $56,000 on something different. I think we will probably invest ours in our digital collection because that is a high priority item, especially during times when people are looking for library services but aren't necessarily out and about in the library. So that gives us the chance to kind of double our impact for this coming year, and we're excited about that. We didn't lose any staffing money or other things that some libraries did around the country, and so we're grateful for that. So ours is kind of bolstering a high demand collection. And in front of the city council in our budget request this year, we also put in, this was long before we knew of ARPA money, but we put in an ongoing request that the collection increase by $20,000 to help us with inflation and other issues like that. It is hard to hold the ground on what you can buy if you aren't kind of adjusting it over the years. And so in the last 5 years, that will be a $50,000 ongoing investment in our collection. People do still love both of our collections, both the print and the digital. So it is going to be heavily used, and we think it is money well spent. And we're the tentative budget was presented to the city council last night, but we have not had any pushback over it. So we do expect to get that, and it would be ongoing into the future. So we're pretty grateful for that as well. Oh, one last update. We've been meeting on our Friends program, and since we need to recruit some new library advisory commission members, we were thinking about recruiting a library commission member who wouldn't be solely responsible for the Friends group, but would join a team of library professionals that we have here, and see if we can all work together on a Friends group. We're not expecting it to be necessarily a strict fundraising arm, but look at all the different ways that people can invest their time and energy here, and where we do need to replace some positions on the LAC. We thought it might be helpful if we recruited someone who might have interest in that. And I did want to ask for your feedback and see if you thought that would be a good thing to do.
So the Friends group, that their primary focus is fundraising?
No, the Friends group,
or
it's kind of multifaceted. You can do a lot of things. There's volunteerism. You can work on like everyday fundraising with our book sale. You could work on special fundraising, but it would just kind of be a multi-pronged approach of how the community has opportunities to support the library if they choose to do that. Some of it could be advocacy. Some of it could be, help with our promotional campaign. But we thought rather than have it assigned to one person here at the library, which it has been, if we created a library team and then invited like library advisory commission members and others from the community to join that team, that might help us have more eyes on it, more outside perspective on it. And since we need to recruit for the library advisory commission vacancies anyway, we thought, well, what if we put it out there that this is the help that we need right now, and just see if somebody felt like they had a particular interest or skill in helping us in that way. Not that you all wouldn't be more than welcome to join, but you've all been working hard for us and already, and our thought was just, well, if we need some help in one particular area, maybe we ask for that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, especially if you're looking at someone who has that skill set, I think that could be very helpful.
Yeah, we're always willing to learn from the experts. Are there any other things that you guys would like updates on, or that you would like more information, or anything like that we could work on?
Charlene, I have one question back on one of your updates about the hall, because my concern now is that the CDC has finally acknowledged what scientists have been arguing about for several months, which is that COVID mainly spreads through aerosols. And if that's the case, then the 6 feet of distance really is not that relevant anymore. Evidently, these things can go up to 18 feet and they can hang in the air for hours. So I'm wondering if one of the things that might be helpful, if that in fact is true for the hall, that it has the kind of ventilation system that clears the air periodically if that could be something that would reassure people to come back. And if we don't have that, that might be something that we might want to look at to install, because I think more and more places, if we're going to have to live with this thing, which it looks like we are since people are reluctant to get the vaccine, that we're going to have to look at ventilation systems and make sure that indoor areas are properly ventilated.
Yeah, that is true. And with an environment that you can't really prop the doors open on with an auditorium space, we will look into what we can offer additionally. There are some commercial companies that have come in and done some kind of particular cleaning when we've had concerns. We will continue to offer masks. It is going to be tricky. I know that it's kind of the battles of the Hale Center theaters. One is going no mask required, and another one is going mask required. We kind of wish we had the ability to go mask required, but we're going to have a lot of signage out, and we're going to offer masks as people enter. Lots of different things, but I'll talk to our facilities and see if there are other options. It does have a new HVAC system over there, so that is helpful. At least we know that it is new and functioning at today's standards, not today's COVID standards, but today's standards in terms of efficiency and things like that. So I'll talk to our facilities and see what they can do, and then we will need to be mindful, of course, not only about not exposing people in there, but making sure that things have time to mellow out and not hang in the air over long periods of time, so we can give it some rest in between as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Yeah, just let things settle a little bit between scheduling events. Even that, I think, would help a little bit. But who knows? I mean, this it just seems to get worse and worse as we go on, as we discover all of this stuff. So, yeah.
It is challenging for sure.
I know with our facility, the air handlers turn over the air every, I think, 30 minutes or so. So I would assume your facility folks would know what that would look like for the event spaces.
Yeah, I can ask them if they have that timeline or if there's any additional filtering or anything that they've employed. I mean, we've had a lot of vendors approach us, and I will tell you a lot of it is just trying to capitalize on, more fear than I think good ideas, because there's a lot of these things that people promise that are just not going to be valuable, but we do want everyone to feel safe. So I will check on that and see how often the air does completely turn over.
Yeah, we see a lot of that too, like when it first started and everyone thought it was mostly, or a lot of it was touch points that were transmitting COVID. We had people trying to sell us like UV sterilizing lights to go over our escalator handle, like escalator touch points, and just all sorts of crazy stuff. But
yeah, at this point
a lot of it's garbage.
Discontinued quarantining our materials. We were quarantining them a full 24 hours, but we have phased that out. I will tell you that most of our CERT staff does not opt to wear gloves when they're handling the materials, and if you could get it from books, they would get it. So we feel pretty confident that the data is on our side to discontinue that now. And not every book turns right around after being checked in and goes out immediately. So we feel like that is a pretty safe environment. And so we have stopped quarantining the books. And they're semi-quarantined because they get checked in and they go on a shelving cart. And then when they are able to be shelved, soon after they're checked in, but it's not a prescribed. We won't have the ability to open some of the areas of the library if we're still quarantining books in those areas. So we kind of had to make that decision, but we feel like it's pretty safe.
I can't remember if we've talked about this, but did the library receive any CARES Act money for funding, like the self-checkout points or anything like that? They
worked on our doors, upgrading our doors, which I guess it's just a kind of a both a maintenance and a cares issue. They have the ADA opener is now like wave your hand in front of it instead of push a button, and we do have sliding doors in the front entry. They've just barely upgraded those, and like Mike was talking about some of the features that are new and improved in those, and they're not all directly related to COVID, but they're more sensitive, so you hopefully catch less kids, you know, that are running towards the door and they're too small for the sensor. You know, we don't have kids get really stuck in them, but it's always just a worry. You know, occasionally a hand or something gets a little bit pinched. But like now, the door is sophisticated enough that we can turn off the outside opener at 9 o'clock so that no more people can come in, but people can still get out, you know, some of those things. We got money from the CARES Act to rebuild the fiction desk downstairs because it is one of the desks that has the least delineation between patron space and staff space. So we are working with a contractor right now to get a plan in place for that desk. They've had a hard time getting a contractor for it. We also did not have to pay for any of the like the plexiglass or other of those types of things. We've had masks and other smaller precautionary items. If we've had to have the building, you know, specially cleaned because of a potential COVID exposure or something like that, we've had some outside companies come in for that. And then we got some money for some T-Mobile hotspots that people can check out and take to their home if they needed that. So the city overall has benefited from some CARES Act money. Some of our, well, all of our staff that worked last year with the public, all of the library staff did get a bonus for doing that, which really meant a lot to them. And it was based on how much time you spent with the public rather than your pay. So some of the front desk people who are really working right with the public and maybe not as able to hide away in an office or work from home, they got the bigger bonuses. So that was also something that was very impactful, I think, for them kind of mentally after a challenging year. And they did that at the end of last year, so they would have it for their holidays. And hopefully it made up a little bit for the time that we were closed for those 6 weeks. And just a show of good faith that we recognize that you're in a spot serving the public, and we appreciated it so much. So those are kind of the specific, and then there have been some citywide issues that kind of benefited all departments as well. And if we get more care funding in the city, I'm sure that the library will get, you know, not a huge amount, but something out of that as well. And we could probably look at maybe something for the auditorium with that.
That's great. Okay, well, I think we went through our agenda items, unless there were other items that other encompasses, or if anyone else has anything else to bring up.
No, we thank you guys so much for your time after a long work day. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Charlene, for the information. Much appreciated.
Yeah. As always, we're incredibly impressed with everything you do. It's overwhelming.
It is not me. We have a great staff, but it is not me.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn today then?
I so move.
I second.
Okay. Well, we will see everyone in a couple months then.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let us know the good news when it happens.
Yes.
Okay,
We're excited.
I will.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Gonna need it.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.